Greetings, comic friends. I'm here with a small CGC box opening, unopening, opening. Just a handful of books. These are all moderns. I do know the grades of these. These contain books mostly of one customer, a couple of two customers, and one of mine. So I was out of town when I knew these were going to be delivered. So once I saw they were delivered, or before that, once I saw they were graded, knowing they were going to be delivered when I was out of town, I looked at the grades so I could let customers know the grades if they wanted, since it was going to be a wait till they got their hands on them. One did not want to know the grades ahead of time, but one did. So I did see all the grades, and I am very, very happy with these. They came back better than expected, which is always a good thing. The one that I sent in for myself, I am particularly happy with, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. But I haven't taken them out yet. I've only opened the box and I looked at the grades ahead of time. But let's go ahead and share what we have. So there's a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books in here. Let's start from this side. And so the customer had most of these. It's for personal use or personal collecting, just books that they really, really liked. No, there were some for themselves, and some they had graded as they might want to resell because they picked up and they don't necessarily want them. They were just kind of cool or whatever at the time, and they decided, like, man, I don't need this in my collection. Maybe I can sell them off if they're graded. But most of theirs are for their own personal collection because they really like the book for one reason or another. So the first one is Ex Machina #1. So this is one they really like this series. They had the #1 and wanted to get it graded, pressed and graded. This one came back really good, 9.8. This, I wasn't expecting a 9.8. There were some trouble spots with it, if I remember correctly, but they did come out nicely. So it did end up with the 9.8, which of course is good. Agent of Atlas. Oh, sorry. Puppy is getting arranged on her little bed here. Get your shark out of the way. You have more room if you get your toy shark out of the way. You'll figure it out. Agents of Atlas. X-Men versus Agents of Atlas #1. This is a zombie variant cover. This is a thing they picked up just because they thought it was really cool. And then when I looked at it, I think, you know what, this could probably be, we met and he showed me a number of books and I gave him my advice on them. Like, this one probably will hit a 9.8. So he said, let's go ahead and grade it. And sure enough, it came back a 9.8. So kind of a cool cover there. Thor #1. So first, what was it? First, Jane Foster becomes the new Thor. I was surprised when I was meeting with a customer and we had to agree on fair market value and all that for insurance purposes and whatnot. I was surprised how much this book had declined in value. At one time, it was pretty hot. Raw, it was probably a $100 book. Now Raw, I think it's like a $15 book or whatever. But he had picked up a couple of them because. I don't propose to know why he picked up a couple of them, but again, I looked at them like, yeah, I can press these out, and there's a good chance they come back a 9.8, and they both did that. Yep. So they got a couple 9.8s on that. This one I know is for his personal collection. This is this Adam Hughes? Palomati. Connor and Palomati. Harley Quinn #1. This is a pretty hot book because of the cover and the cover artists. It is a variant. So we got this for himself. And this one, when I was talking with him, there was a number of issues that I saw with it. And it came down to, well, I don't know if it'll get the 9.8 after the press. But if you really like the book, it's for your personal collection and you want to be able to display it, it's definitely worth it. It's not a low grade. It's going to be a good grade, a decent grade, but it might not get that. It probably won't get that 9.8. I don't remember exactly what the issues were with it when we sat down for a chat. But it did come back better than I expected. It got the 9.6, so that's awesome. And I try to set expectations as much as possible. And I said, I don't remember what my expectations at the time were of what it could come back as after the press. But for one reason or another, I was pretty sure it was not a 9.8. Maybe it was a tick or something like that. But 9.6. I mean, I probably said, just to be, fair and conservative, I probably said something around 9.2, 9.4, but it comes back at 9.6. Awesome. Amazing Fantasy #1. So this was the first Aranya. And I'm pretty sure I said this might not get a 9.8, but he decided to go forward with it anyway, and it did not get a 9.8. It got a 9.6. So I mean, it's one step off of that, which is great. This is for another customer, his first print of Ultimate Fallout 4. I've talked about this. This is actually a friend of mine who has, buys books to read and whatnot, and he kind of needs a little bit of money, so he's deciding to sell off some of his more valuable books. This, and he, I probably also mentioned this as well, he also likes to read digital, so he takes the digital sticker off of things. Though this book, oh no, it's another book. This book doesn't have a digital sticker on it. If memory serves me, I've done enough of these that I always remember. I always think like it's in that area that it might have a digital sticker, but it doesn't have a digital sticker. But it had some issues with it, and I was like, well, I mean, it is what it is. Anything it comes back as, as long as it's probably 8.5, 9 or higher, is worth grading if you're wanting to resell it. But it definitely had some issues. Gave it a good press, and it came out a 9.6. So, again, like, press those books, people. As I always say, make sure, even if they're modern, press your book. It doesn't have to be with me. By all means, just as advice, always press your books before selling them. If you're going to sell them raw, or especially if you're going to send them in to be graded, make sure you're getting them pressed. This was another book of his. He's just a big Rick and Morty fan, and he bought this book. He bought it for reading. It was in condition where it was like, this has been read. I let him know like that book is actually kind of valuable. He really didn't think so. Because at one point I went over to his place to help him out and sort through his book. Like, yeah, this has some value. This has some value, because he was wanted to sell some stuff. Because he needed some extra cash. So I picked this out and like, this is actually kind of worth something. He's like, what, really? Like, yeah. So went ahead and took it and pressed it and got it graded, and it came back a 9.6, which is really good for a book he bought just as a Rick and Morty fan to read. And it definitely showed some sign of readings. Wasn't able to get everything out of it to get that 9.8. But I don't remember exactly why it was without doing a deep dive on it right now, but this is not the place that I'm going to do that. But 9.6, super happy with that. Those were the only two from him. This actually is an interesting one. So Black Adam #1 Hamner variant cover. So, as I said, especially with local customers, I like to sit, especially with a new customer, which this was. I like to sit down with them, and so I can get an idea of like, okay, what are your goals? What are you wanting to do? Is this for yourself for display, or just wanting to preserve? Is it for value? Yada yada yada. So he brought this, and when I sat down with him, like, and this has like a harder stock cover. And when I looked at it, I saw the harder stock cover. Like, look, usually these harder stock covers I don't press, because there's not always a lot that can be done with a press for those thicker stock covers, which this one was. So I was like, if you want me to send it in for grading, that's fine. I'll send it in for grading, but don't, I'm not going to charge you for pressing it, because I don't think it will help. And I don't want to take advantage of customers or whatever. And again, that's why I like to sit down with them and get a gauge of like what your goals are. And like, I don't think pressing this would help. And then I kind of like was going through it, and I noticed that though the cover looked really good, on the side, it looked like some of the pages had been dinged in. I'm not sure what made, like something hit it from the side or something. The cover still looked good, so it didn't like, crease the thicker stock cover, but some of the pages were kind of indented in a weird way. And I saw that like, oh, whoa, wait. We might actually want to go ahead and press this, not for the cover, but for these interior pages. So he's like, all right, fine. Yeah, I'll trust you. And like, I'm not giving any promises or whatever, but if this were my book, I'd press it if I wanted to get graded. And I think he wanted to get graded no matter what, because he liked the cover and it's a cool cover and to display it and whatnot for his own collection. And so I went ahead and pressed it, and sure enough, those pages flattened out and you got a 9.8 on it. So when you're looking for a book and looking at a book and deciding to press it or not, there are a number of things that I looked for through my experiences. Like I said, with these harder stock covers, it's like usually, without mitigating circumstances, there's not a lot that can be gained from a press, because it's mostly the cover you're looking at, but you also have to look at that interior, because advantages can be taken advantage of then as well with a press. It's not just the exterior, it's the interior. And in this case, it needed the press because of those interior pages that were kind of pushed in or something. Like it was strange. I'm not sure how it happened, but it was a bit strange. And sure enough, it was definitely worth it, because that would not have come back a 9.8 without that. And the last book of that customer's was Why the Last Man #1. This is just a series that he really enjoyed and had the first issue and wanted it to get graded for his collection and be presented. It was another one, I believe, if memory serves correct, it's like, I don't think it's going to come back a 9.8, but let's go ahead and press it. And I think I did a little bit of cleaning on it as well. There was a little bit of gunk on the white there, which I think is so minuscule, like I didn't charge him for. I was like, you know what, I'll just clean that up a little bit and then press it. And it came back a 9.6. So I'm sure he's going to be very, very happy with that. And the last book, this is mine. So happy with this one. So Earthworm Jim #1. This is a book that I bought off the shelf when I was a kid. And I think in a previous video I talked about this. I was going through and merging my collection with other stuff I've collected since I last merged stuff into the overall collection. And I stumbled on this, like, oh, I forgot that I bought that, but I bought it when it was on the shelf when I was a kid in the 90s. Because I loved Earthworm Jim. I loved those games. I still love those games. They're so good. And I took a look at it, and it's like, this definitely has some issues. Like, there was definitely some indentations and whatnot. Nothing color breaking, thankfully, but there were some indentations in there. Like, this as is not going to get a 9.8. I do want to get it graded because it looked in really, really good shape. Aside from those little things, which was probably just over time or when I was a kid, but I was a weird kid and tried to keep my stuff in really, really good condition. Like with video games, I kept the boxes and all that stuff. I was just weird like that. But my comics, even when I was younger, I kept in good shape. Not because I assumed there's going to be any value to them, but I just like to keep my stuff in good shape. So I went ahead and pressed it, thinking I'm not knowing exactly what I was going to get, thinking I could improve it quite a bit from how it sat. If anything, it's a cool book to have. It's from my childhood. It will look good on the wall. So let's go ahead and send it into graded. But I ended up getting the 9.8 on this book. This is one of those tough books to get in a 9.8 just because it was definitely targeted to a certain audience, younger kids that didn't necessarily take good care of their stuff. I was one of those weirdos that thankfully did, and with a little extra love, years and years later, with the press and the clean, was able to come out the other side of 9.8. So I'm really happy with this one for a couple of reasons. One, for me as a kid, keeping good care of stuff and keeping good care of it throughout the years as well. But also, I got the 9/8 through the press that I did. So really, really happy with that one. That is definitely going on the wall the next time I switch this wall out, which should probably be soon. I think I've had this one up for a while. But super, super happy with that. Happy with everything. Like, nothing below a 9.6. I was not expecting that. There were some that was like, yeah, maybe a 9.2, 9.4, somewhere like that. Maybe even a 9 in there somewhere. But everything that that could be addressed with a clean and a press was addressed with a clean and a press, and everything came out great. So super happy with that. But that's all. Just those 11 books. Just a small little modern order that came in. So let me know your thoughts on these books here, on cleaning and pressing of modern books, or whatever you want to talk about. Let's talk about. So like, comment, subscribe, and of course, don't forget to make yours Titan. This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.